Good afternoon and welcome back to Imani Live. Today I'm over in North Manchester and I'm going to interview an amazing artist. So I'm not going to tell you his name yet. However, it's great to be back. It's been a long while and I've not done an interview for a while because, due to lockdown. So today I'm out and about. The sun is somewhere in the clouds, but it's warm, it's not too cold. But so it's just nice to be out today, but instead of walking, I'm actually driving to my destination. So come on, let's go. So I've arrived at my destination. So I am here with Marcus Hercules and he is an amazing artist. Marcus, just thank you so much for, just giving me this opportunity to know, get to know a little bit about your life and your life story. Tell me a little bit about where you was born and where you grew up.
I was born in Bradford, Yorkshire. Then I moved to Leeds when I was very young. Spent about 5 years in Leeds. Then I moved to Manchester. And from there, Manchester was kind of a big part of me growing up. My mum moved to Manchester because of the 12 Tribes of Israel.
Okay.
She was a member of the 12 Tribes of Israel and the headquarters was in Manchester. So we came as part of that movement, and that kind of, I suppose, introduced me to, obviously it was always inside of me, but the performing elements of me were able to come out through the 12 tribes, through showcases, through stage shows and things like that.
What inspired you? Because I know you're you're multi-talented and you've got a lot of skills, and I've known you for over the years, and so, and that's why it's just a great pleasure to be able to sit with you today and just talk about all the things that you have done. And I know one of the things that you have done is acting, and so what inspired you to become an actor? And what road, how did you kind of get into acting then?
So kind of following up from what I was saying before a little bit, like through growing up with the 12 tribes, I ended up doing shows. So from the age of 10, I was hosting shows at the old library, Naya Centre, the Irish Club, wherever we had functions. Like I'd get up and I'd be introducing acts on stage. My auntie Shirley, she was like a key person in my life. I think she kind of noticed something in me and said, well, Marcus, you host the show. So I did a lot of that type of stuff. And then from that, I went on to, when I was at school, I was in a play called Blood Brothers. And that was my very first play. And I used to do obviously did drama at school. And within doing drama, I really enjoyed it, and once I actually made my teacher, she actually started crying. I didn't make her cry, she started crying because of the scene that we were portraying. And I don't know, little things like that stick with you and you kind of think, oh wow, that must have touched her, it reached her in a way. So it kind of gives you a little bit more of an energy to think, oh, maybe I have something, being able to do this. So then she cast me in Blood Brothers, and that was great. My granny came down from Leeds, my uncle came down, my dad came down, and it was just, it was really, really a good experience.
So what would you say was your very first role then as an actor? So you said you auditioned for the Blood Brothers. In what role, or what was your character in that?
So Blood Brothers' story of like two brothers separated at birth. One grows up rich, one grows up poor. I was the poor one. Council estate kind of lad. So that was kind of it, and it was a great role to play, written by Willie Russell, great writer. So it was a great story to tell, and it was dynamic, I suppose, in many ways, kind of challenging me as well. my first stage kiss, you know. So, you know, at that age, it's kind of, I suppose, a little bit daunting. So it was really a great experience. And, you know, the audience really loved it. You know, lots of schoolmates came and seen the show. So, yeah, it was a great experience for all of us.
So what was it like stepping onto that stage, being a performer myself and a dancer? I know it's like behind stage, and then when you get onto stage, the kind of feelings that you feel. So what was that first experience like when you first stepped out onto the stage and saw all the audience? What was it like for you?
I think there's an adrenaline that you get when you go on stage or as a performer before you're about to go on stage. I think I thrive on it. It's kind of like, I don't know if it's a fear thing as well, but like, so like a little bit of a feeling of like, you know, are you ready for this? You know, your heart starts beating faster, and you're like, okay, let's do this. And it's either you sink or swim, you know, so which is going to be.
I hear that,
you know what I mean? And we swim.
I hear that, yeah. So then after kind of going to primary school and auditioning for that, what other, did you go on to develop your acting career, or did you train anywhere, or how did it all come about?
I had a great a careers advisor called Fatima, and I don't think she's alive anymore, God bless her soul, but she really sat me down, and we really structured like what I was gonna do. From going to do a BTEC first diploma, going to do a national diploma in performing arts, and then going on to university. And we structured it from when I was in school, from in about year 10. So it was already kind of mapped out for me in a way, and I followed it. I had a break in between though, so I think I left home at a certain point, and I maybe took a year out or 2 years out. And during that time, I did some work with my dad on building sites and stuff like that. And then I kind of went around doing some dead-end jobs. Or maybe they weren't dead-end jobs, maybe they were just developing and finding character, you know, because it kind of made me think, do I want to be doing this?
Yeah.
You know, what do I want to do? And I realized I had a gift. So then to use my gift, you know, rather than just doing things that I didn't think I was supposed to be doing. And so I went back, and then I started doing my BTEC first diploma, in which I'd done the first year, but then I think when I left home, I took a break, and then I went back and then did the second year. Then I went and did the national, and then I went to university.
Okay.
And I did a HND in media performance, which is really interesting in a way. I felt like maybe because of that conversation I had with Fatima, I thought that I'd wasted time. So I didn't even go to my graduation or anything. It was just like, I've done that now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, but that's how, you know, to myself, I'm a bit, I think I'm a bit militant like that. And maybe to do what we do in a way, you have to be a bit militant.
Yes.
And it wasn't about going to get any, you know, gratification from it, you know, from anybody else. It was like, this is who you are. So I owed it to myself, and I'd already, in my eyes, let myself down a little bit by taking a little bits of breaks in that time, and just kind of maybe to figure myself out as well at the same time, which I think I did do. But it was kind of, for me, it was just like, okay, let's go now, and what's next, and what's next. And during that time, I remember actually when I was about 16, I got an agent. So there's a sister, a Rasta sister, and her daughter used to do some modelling and stuff, and she put me onto this agency called Lane Management, and I started going for castings and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so even when I was, even at the early stages, I was still going for castings and understanding the process. I never got any jobs, but I was understanding what it takes to be an actor.
Okay. What type of roles were you going for then at that time?
Some adverts.
Okay.
There was a program, Clocking Off, I think it was called. So I went for that. There was a few other people who went for stuff like that as well, who maybe never studied it like I'd studied it, but they were good performers in their own right, and they were doing their thing, you know what I mean? And there was a few people who were really doing really well at the time. There was one guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was tending to get a lot of the parts that were going for the black characters at that time.
So you went for quite a few different castings and, you know, understanding how to be an actor. So what was one of the first roles that you did land, or what was the first role that you actually got?
Okay, I'm gonna just flip back a little bit on that, just because I want to mention one thing.
Of course.
Which is Mr. Zipper Tafari.
Okay.
He actually took me to my very first casting.
Fantastic.
Which I will never ever forget, because it was like, that was even before I had an agent or anything. Do you know what I mean? And I always remember it because obviously it's my job. It's still what I do today. And I just think he was the one who kind of took me to that place at Granada. There was a part going, and he took me and a friend of mine. I'd actually broken my toe at the time as well, so I went on crutches.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, but I went and did my thing, and yeah, it was a great experience. But I never forget. It was kind of almost, it's like part of your history, and it's part of your journey.
Yeah.
So that was a great experience for me.
But we have something in common where Mr. Zip's concerned, because Mr. Zip was the one who then encouraged me to set up Tap Expression originally, which used to be Free Expression, Finance UK. But it started off as a tap company, and it was Mr. Zip, and I used to teach his daughter, and it was his daughter, another young lady, and my daughter, and you know, I created this tap trio for them, and they performed, I think, at one of the carnivals. So it was Mr. Zip who kind of encouraged me, which then I set up Free Expression. You know, so we have something in common in there. So yeah, he is a very encouraging man, you know,
definitely.
in the community.
And he was doing that, you know, the what time is it, Mr. Zip?
Yeah,
you know,
that's correct.
You know, the parties and stuff for the kids. So it was kind of a real big heartbeat, it felt like, for the community at that time. It was definitely my first job that I got. It's weird, I'd been going for castings for about, like, I graduated during like my last years at uni. I was going for castings, and I was getting like small parts in university. Like, they were just offering me small stuff, and it was, I don't say it was, it just felt like I I could do more, and I could do more. So my agent at the time, it just so happened that I was being given these other opportunities. There was a little bit of jealousy, I felt like, at the time as well, from some of my peers, because I'd be missing from rehearsal to go to castings and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I was like literally probably 2 pages in a whole play. Do you know what I mean? So it was like, it didn't really demand a lot of my time at the time. So my first job I got was on Holby City.
I remember that.
Nathan Harland. Nathan Harland. Rolling back the years.
Rolling back the years.
So Nathan. So that was so interesting in many ways as well. It might not seem important, but it was important to me. But the guy who cast me as well, he was a dwarf. He was a dwarf who cast me. So what got me like about the whole experience is like, it was so like different. It was like I was going into a fantasy world almost. You know, like I was walking down this corridor, there was this small man there, and yet he was about to give me my break. And I didn't know it. Do you know what I'm saying? So it was almost like not that you expect anything, but there's just so many different unexpected things in life. And I think also it strikes me as there's something in that, I believe, you know, that
it's like your life is written, isn't it? Or what was meant to be would be. Kind of
and
thing.
Also, like, I think sometimes people can be underestimated. So the fact that this man, who I believe in life, people look at people like that potentially maybe in different ways, so they can be underestimated. So it kind of felt right that this man was giving me my first part, and maybe because I would be underestimated as well within my journey in doing what I'm doing, for whatever reasons that may be. So that was my first job. I remember getting the call. It meant so much to me. I actually cried. I cried. I cried. And I'm not an emotional person either, but I cried, and you know, it just meant, I remember being in my flat. I used to kind of, like, there used to be like a window there, and I think I kind of got emotional about it. I think I put on some tunes, started dancing. Like I had my own little party. Yeah, I celebrated. I did, and it's like it's like an internal thing because you go for these castings and you keep getting no,
I get that.
No, and it's like I'd been doing this for like probably 7 years. I think about 7 years going for castings and
Nothing
joy
coming up.
And then all of a sudden it happens. This dream becomes a reality. It can happen. It is possible. So within that moment, like I had an emotional, I let out emotionally, and that kind of was the start of my career.
Fantastic.
And from that, I managed to get a few other jobs. I started to get jobs and a few other jobs, and it started to roll in. Yeah.
So what other programs or films or series have you been in on television?
Okay, so after that, soon after, the big thing that I did was Brookside, and Brookside was going for their 21st anniversary. There was about maybe 100 of us who went for this casting. Only 4 could be selected.
Wow.
So like,
yeah.
And there was loads of us, and we seen it getting whittled down and whittled down and whittled down and whittled down until eventually it was just kind of like, where they're kind of mixing like this, maybe 7 of us, and then they're taking one out and bringing another one in, and then just try to find the right kind of dynamics of this gang that's coming in, because they were doing a siege in Brookside Close, and I managed to get that part, and that was just fantastic because we had pictures of us in newspapers and stuff like that. They were really impressed with what we were doing. We brought new energy, like all of the actors who were involved, brought great energy into Brookside, at that time.
Spiced it up.
We spiced it up. We did. We brought some spice, yeah, most definitely. And that was a great experience. And one of the actors as well, Kieran, who passed away soon after that as well. God bless his soul. Like it was kind of like, I don't know. I had a great time with them and with him. He used to drive me. He used to pick me up and he used to take me to filming, and it's kind of weird. But within a year of that, he passed away. So these things are, for me, they make me appreciate things, and everything is like I believe in God, and they're kind of like they're science to me as well. Like nothing is promised, nothing is guaranteed. Make the most of whatever little opportunity or big opportunity you may have, and just try and keep striving forward.
Fantastic. Wow. So you've been in a few kind of live theatre performances as well, because I've been to watch you perform, and I know for me you're very strong in theatre. I've seen a few of your bits of your TV work, but your theatre work I do feel that you're very strong in. So just give us a little bit about your theatre work and what you've done. What did you do during that time? The shows you've created and produced, because I know you've done a lot of things, very multi-talented writer. So you write, you produce, So
some of it was done because I felt like I needed to tell stories. It's funny you say that I'm a strong theatre performer, because I found that in the early days I did get a few theatre jobs, but not as many as I would have liked. I would have wanted more, but it wasn't meant to be. And this is something I'm still kind of understanding now as well, in terms of my purpose.
Where's your path? Is it where your path is and who you are?
The reason why I'm here, I suppose, and the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, and like, what is the purpose of that, other than my own glorification of I want to work and I want to do this and I want to do that. It's like I do believe there's a higher purpose for myself and for most people or for everyone. I feel like there's a higher purpose. We just have to kind of tap into it and understand that, it's this or it's that. And sometimes it wasn't about me necessarily telling stories that other people had written. It was more about me maybe looking at my environment and telling stories of my environment, my community, people that I know, those stories that weren't really being told.
Yeah.
And also with the education that I'd had and understanding that I had, I was able to then to put that into words, to then put that out there so that it could relate to, you know, people like myself who come from a similar type of background. I did an interesting play at the Library Theatre with, it was called Cinderella. It was, yeah.
I think I remember that,
You might have come and seen it,
Yeah.
It was Cinderella. It was like a Jamaican pantomime.
That's right, I can't remember some of the characters
Cinderella.
who was in that.
So Trevor Dwyer Lynch was in it. He was in Coronation Street at the time, and there's a few other. Dermot was in it as well. Andy Burke, his production company, put the show on, and I remember doing that. And there was a director who came over from Jamaica called Trevor Narin. So it was great to work with him.
Yeah.
And he gave me some.
Met him,
he gave me some real good advice. It's funny actually because I was mentioning it to my children the other day. I actually said what he said to me, and it's quite interesting, you know. But I really got a sense of he believed in me as a performer.
Yeah.
Which you know, you do what you do, but I don't really take myself too seriously. So when somebody kind of shares something with you to say, well, you need to really perform, you need to really be on your A game here, you need to be, you know, top notch. It kind of it pushes you a little bit further. Do you know what I mean? It brings something else to you, because it's like now you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it because this man's saying that you need to be doing this. You know what I mean? And I don't know, it just kind of motivated me in a way to make me understand. And it's something, like I said, I was talking to my children about it the other day, so I feel like it's still something that lives with me. You know, that motivation, and also his belief in me as well. So yeah, and so then I've gotten to writing my own pieces because I didn't think I was getting enough work. So it was like, well, what do I do? I was getting like maybe 2-3 television jobs a year, which might seem okay, but these jobs are just like 3 days filming, some maybe like 2 days filming. Like I think I did Doctors, Casualty, I'd done Holby City, like I said, I'd done Shameless, New Street Law, Mobile. I'd done a little comedy sketch show called Space Hoppers, you know, which got made into a series, but then I wasn't actually in the country when they were doing the next version of it. So we did the pilot, but then when it actually got commissioned, I wasn't actually about, so they gave the part to somebody else. But, you know, such is life. And so it kind of just made me just really want to just kind of, I suppose, tell my own stories, because there wasn't that much work, I felt. And the story I chose to tell first was a play called Different Perspectives. Which
I remember that.
Was looking at a Jamaican-born father and his son, you know, because there's lots of like things about young black men and their fathers being absent.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this was a story, like flipped it, like the dad was there. You know, he was there as a real solid father. Good. As there are some solid fathers as black men.
Oh, most definitely.
So, it was kind of just spinning a different light on things. And within that, we used multimedia. For me, the show was, we used different things. We did things that, for me, I'd never seen before, but we created them, so it was very imaginative.
It was a very dynamic show. I think I came to watch the R&D first of all, and the research and the development, and then when you did the full show, you know, and how you used the digital. So even back then, even though companies are now starting to use digital within their theatre pieces, you were using it quite a long time ago. And so the way that was executed was just really, it was out there at the time. You know, and the storyline as well, it was bit sad, but a bit joyous, and it's a mixture of feelings, but I felt that was really executed. It was just powerful, and it was just nice to see, you know, an African Caribbean male, you know, on stage, writing their own stories, performing at such a high standard, you know, that normally you wouldn't expect, you know, but it was, the standard was so high, which then was almost like inspiring for other young men coming up in theatre. And that's what I really enjoyed about it, you know, so yeah. So yeah, it's really good. And so after that, what else did you do?
So after that, that was the catalyst for me to start Hercules Productions, which was my own production company. Before that, I'd never really thought about doing that, and I kind of, maybe I was going to do it with other people, but then I'd been doing other projects with other people, and I found that I'm a very driven person. So I had to make sure that I didn't want to be let down. And if I'm doing it, if I'm running a production company, I can only let myself down. So this was kind of like, at that point in my life, it was like damage limitation almost. You know what I mean? It was like, this is serious now. You know what I mean?
I hear that.
I need to kind of just do this thing, and I need to do it right.
You want it to work.
So basically, I set up Hercules Productions. We did workshops for young people. We did like a film and a writing and performance kind of 8 weeks workshop, which went really well. We had loads of people. I'd just been directing or assisting directing a play in Huddersfield with their youth theatre at the Lawrence Batley Theatre, and there must have been about 6 or 7 of those young children who came up from Huddersfield as well every week, you know, to be part of that project. So we were kind of, for me, it was breaking new ground. It was really breaking new ground in what we were doing, and it was a good experience.
So how long ago was that? What year did you set up Hercules Productions, and where did you set it up?
So I'd say like the different perspective was like maybe 2006. I set up Hercules Productions about 2008. So the first thing was working on the show, and then after I'd worked on the show, I set up the company. And the first project that the company did was that project that I was talking about with the young people.
And so where were the workshops? Where did they take place? And where did the young people come from?
So some came from Huddersfield, then others came from Manchester. The rest were from Manchester, from people who I knew, some people who I didn't know. And they took place at Z Arts. We rented out a space there, and we did the workshops there. I'd kind of been doing a lot of different community-based stuff as well. I was working with a company called Lime, and we were creating films for young people. So I met a good filmmaker called Mark Haig, and he came on board, and he helped to do the filming for the project. There was also a lady who employed me for that. I asked her to be a part of the board, and as you were part of the board as well. She was called Kim Wilkshire. And I'd also you employed me as well to do some writing.
I was going to ask you when your first, because you said you also write, so I was going to ask you, you know, what was your first writing job, and what was what was it about? What was the script about?
So my first one, I feel like even before Different Perspective, you gave me my first writing job. I think it's before then, and it was Children of a Revolution. So the Children of a Revolution, So I wrote Children of a Revolution. That was my actual first script.
I remember that show.
That would be kind of seen by a wider public. You know, that wasn't part of like a college course or a university course. So that was a great experience in itself as well. And
that was a part of summer school, and I remember that year because all the children were just so talented. You know, they were rapping and they were writing rap, they were writing songs, and there was an amazing voices, weren't they? There was I think not Chloe, is it Chloe? I think was she a part of that from the Cleopatra? I think her sister Yona. I think was Yona part of that, or Chloe? Terry. I think Terry was a part of that, wasn't she? So she had an amazing voice. There was Misha. But we had some, even just young people that I'd never worked with, because it was during the summer and we auditioned. So I do remember that Children of the Revolution. It was dynamic.
There was some fantastic talent in that group. There was, like, everybody.
So that was your first script then?
That was my first script that I wrote. For a proper, like, you know, audience, I'd say. Like, I wrote scripts when I was at university and stuff, but this was my first paid job. You give me my first paid job as a writer to write, and it was a great experience, you know, and like even obviously working with the young people and delivering the workshops and stuff like that, working with the creative team, yourself, Yvonne, Darren, it kind of just helped. I don't know, it helped me to grow.
Give you more adrenaline.
Give me so much enthusiasm as a young performer, you know, and an artist to kind of just think, okay, there's so much more that can be done, and just working with so many great professionals and yourself as well, you know, the way you run your ship, you know, it was like, you know, militant again, do you know what I mean? Yeah, like definitely, yeah. Like militant, yeah. So
yeah, I just think for me, I think what's really important is, you know, if you are working with young people, it's like being a parent, isn't it? You want to do the right thing, make the right choices. And I think because I was working with a lot of young people then, you know, and then obviously bringing lots of amazing artists on board, and knowing that their background and knowing their experience and their, you know, highs and lows of being in the arts, because it's not an easy road. It's a road that, you know, it has lots of highs and lows and knockbacks, like you said, when you went to all those auditions. And it was just for me encouraging, you know, that I met so many great artists who was just be able to come and deliver. It was just fantastic. But yeah, so important to like run a tight ship, in other words, you know, so it was professional, and it was giving those young people, because summer school was about giving young people that professionalism. So it was like young professionals and teaching them what it would be like to be on television, what it would be like to audition. So they were getting quite a few different types of experiences throughout that time. They came, they auditioned, they got an interview, they got measured up for costume, and then they had 3 weeks intense to just deliver, and they were, you know, doing lots of different workshops around that. So it was a really important project and a great, for me, and a good experience for young people, as well as the, you know, the artists and who were delivering as well.
Yeah, most definitely.
You know, you set up the company and you were producing work and writing as well. So I remember a show that you did called Space Dread. Yeah, I remember that. That was like a futuristic show. So what inspired you to write and create that show?
The world, and I suppose like my history, you know, growing up as a Rasta and stuff, and, you know, like through reading the Bible and stories and things, I kind of I looked at the world, I suppose, as a never-changing place, and of that, when you look at the old stories of the Bible, how things changed over time. So this was kind of like a show that and also because of young, I suppose within the black community, young guys killing each other on the street and the gang violence and all the rest of it, it was like almost to reflect and see where we've come from. So Space Dread was kind of like a guy who's in the Dread Kingdom, which was a place of peace and harmony, and then he would be sent back in time in a device called the Dreadulator.
Dreadulator.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he'd go back in time, and he'd go to slavery time, you know, and then he'd have to be under a slave master, and to understand what that felt like, in order for him to understand his natural right, and is also his privilege of that now he was in a place that was better than where they were, and yet they suffered so that he could be where he is. So now that you're here, what are you going to do about it, type of thing. And I just looked at like humanity, like flaws in humanity. So like race seemed like a key thing in it, in the sense of him understanding himself in that moment. So there was that moment, and then the next world he was sent to was like say the 70s, 80s, 1970s, 1980s.
Okay, so it was going through the eras, in other words.
Going through eras, yeah, like just significant moments in time, and that was looking at like a multiracial relationship and how people looked at a multiracial relationship and the stigma that came with that at that time, And for me, like growing up the way I grew up, like love is love, so it didn't really matter about colour. I always feel like the world told us about colour and told us that this is not right and this is this and this is that.
True.
Before, I never really understood. I never understood it like that. So I suppose I was just using my interpretation of how I understood the world and telling these stories with that in mind. So we kind of looked at that, and then the killer was then going into the future, because obviously we've not gone into the future. So it was like, then that was my imagination based on what I thought. But basically it was like a civilization that had gone underground, and within that undergroundness, you know, there was a chip, a microchip that people had implanted. So basically they had to, if they wanted to get food and or any essentials or go shopping or do whatever, they had to have the chip. And if you didn't, you were underground, and you had to find your own ways of surviving. So
that kind of some of that, it reminds me, about life. You could kind of look at it as the way life plays out itself now. And you know, even what we're going through now, you know, some of the the kind of you know, we're in a world pandemic, aren't we? You know, what we're going through now and what we've been told through the media, and you know, and how we're having to behave, and how we have to now start to conform to, you know, what the government say, and it's almost like parts of your freedom's been taken away a little bit. But going back to Space Dredge, you know. So you performed this in, because there was some really key other quite well-known artists in that as well.
I had some great actors involved.
Yeah, you had some great actors in that.
I had like Cleveland Campbell. He was in Emmerdale at the time. And then there was Kerry Stacey. She was also in Emmerdale at the time. And there was a guy who I went to university with, and he was also in Brookside with me, called Greg Metcalf. And he was in it. And I had Wiley Longmore. He played the Dreadlord. Oh my gosh, that show. I feel like also Mark Oliver, my good friend as well. He was on it. But I feel like that show, it kind of hurts me in a way a little bit, because I feel like it's like they couldn't see the show. Not the actors, but the people who I was going to, like, for funding and the theatres. It's like they didn't understand it. It's like they didn't get it.
They didn't connect.
But I've got to do the show. I've got to go back to that show again.
I hear that. There's some shows that you just do and you just think, no, we need to develop that and, you know, get good, you know, writers in, or revisit it and edit it. And so, you know, because I mean, you're just starting out as a writer in a way, aren't you? And so suppose in terms of maybe how you expressed it, sometimes people don't get it because of because you don't give everything away. So they're not going to get it. You know, sometimes you don't want to say the whole thing. You want to give people a surprise. So I hear that when they say, oh, they didn't get it, so you don't get the funding. But the funding's a difficult game anyway. With the projects that you did and the writing, how difficult, or how, you know, what was it like going for pots of funding for you?
In the beginning, it was easy. It felt easy in the beginning. That was the turning point. So in terms of my development and I was rising, like I was steady rising in terms of the work and the quality of the work. And that show, that was the groundbreaking show for the company. Like, you know, like how I mapped it out with my careers advisor. In my head, that was the big show, and it was the big show, and it still is the big show. And I don't doubt the show at all. I don't doubt it, even though they said no. But I don't think they understood. They just didn't understand it. And what I did, I think I maybe tried to do too much with it. Like, I got £5,000. I employed like maybe
a lot of people.
Yeah, I employed like maybe 10 people.
Wow.
We rehearsed with £5,000. We rehearsed for about a week or nearly 2 weeks. You know, you're talking paying people. Everyone's getting a weekly wage. You know, and then I've still got a creative team. You know, you've got your music person, you've got your director, you've got your choreographer, you've got your theatre space, you've got, you know, all of the little costs and stuff. So really, there was minimal money to do anything realistically, and I put on a 40 or 50-minute show. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and we had nearly a full house inside the
You
main
did, it
house
was. I
in the
remember it
Contact
was
Theatre.
at Contact, wasn't it?
In the
Yeah.
Contact Theatre.
Yeah.
Which realistically, like, in itself, that's
Like
crazy.
a 50 grand show, that.
Yeah.
Even a 100 grand show.
Yeah.
For all the actors, if you went to Granada or BBC and you asked them to cost the actors that you had, because you said they come from Coronation Street, Emmerdale, EastEnders, you know, all those different actors and the skills that they've already got and the experience, and then that you would say that show, the value of that show was anything from about 50,000 upwards. And to do something on a low minimum budget of £5,000, that's just really phenomenal. It's still phenomenal regardless, but you know, it's a shame that you didn't have the you know, the right kind of budget to be able to, you know, deliver what you really wanted to do. But it's a start, because you said you're going to come back to it.
Yeah, I am, most definitely. Most definitely. But it was a great learning curve as well. And even at the time when I was speaking with the creative directors of theatres at the time, even they kind of said that, and it was a change. I think the government had just changed as well. So at that time there was not much money in the arts as well. So
and the Arts Council was changing as well. You know, there's always been a change around in the infrastructure, and then there's always new pots of funding that come out. You always find it. You'll find different pots for different reasons, and it always seems to be changing.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
box ticking a lot, I find.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was just about, and I think when I came into the game, so like with that first 5-6 years, like I was a good tick of a box. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, I hear that.
Not to say that I weren't good at what I was doing. But it's like I don't know. I just felt like there was no. I just wanted to take it further, I suppose. That's my thing, without kind of, I suppose, putting it out there on anybody else. I just wanted to do what it was meant to do. And I believe in myself, I believe in the work, and I believe in the work that we do. So I knew that it could have gone all the way, the show. And we'll see what happens with the show. And this is very interesting as well, now we come to mention it in this. Because then the show after that, I had to apply for the money 7 times to get the money to do my next show.
Wow.
7 times.
Wow.
And each time they said no, and then I'd have to do a little bit more, and then they said no, and I did a little bit more, and I did this all on my own. And basically I asked Wiley Longmore, God bless him, I asked him to kind of come in as a director, and he came in as a director. I'm not paying these people, these are professionals. Absolutely. He was head of Arden School of Theatre for, I don't know, 20 odd years or something. He was an expert in his field, and he was coming and he was giving me his time, and I think he must have did it. I think he did it about three times. So every time I applied, we did a bit of work, and then I'd go and apply again, did a bit of work, apply again, did a bit of work.
And what show was that? What was the name? What was the title of that show? And what was that show about?
So that's Prison Game.
Prison Games, yes, I do remember that one. Yeah, that was amazing. As well, again,
And Prison Game was kind of me. Like, I feel like that was me in full throttle in a way. Like, you know, with getting rejection. Like, well, okay, it was like if I'm a lion, I was roaring then. Like, seriously, it was like, you know, like almost.
But you still, even though I suppose some of that must have been these 7 times. I suppose some of that must have been really deflating, isn't it? You know, you keep going in, it's like, well, what have you done wrong? And they're rejecting you constantly. You know, that funding game is a harsh one for many companies. I do know that.
I'm not built like that though.
So but it's nice to know that you didn't give up. And you continued.
It only motivated me.
It just gave you more fuel for your fire to go back in and thinking, no, I'm going back in, no, I'm going back in.
And all the time I work on it anyway, so it doesn't matter what you say, because they'd already turned down with Space Dread. You'd already done that with Space Dread when I had loads of people in it. And then now I'm just on my own. I can do this on my own. And I, in a way, and I did it 7 times, and I built it with no support 7 times, other than the generosity of like experts, you know, like Wiley, Cheryl Martin, who were giving me their support for free, you know. And that just kind of driven me. You know what most upset me about it, or kind of upset me, it did upset me, is that I weren't able to pay them for their service. because
I hear that, yeah.
I respected them as professionals.
Absolutely, yeah.
So as professionals, I wanted to, you know, pay them like they're supposed to be paid. The fact that they didn't want to pay me or they didn't want to give me the money was by the by. Do you know what I mean? I'll
but
survive.
at least them, but at least you wanted them to be paid. Yeah, I hear that.
And producers, I had producers working with me. They got disheartened. They couldn't understand it. Yeah. So in the end, they'd end up just going, and I could understand it because it's like, well, why would you want to put up with this? You know what I mean? It seems like it's not going nowhere. Yeah. But then one of the first sharings we did as well was at the Royal Exchange. We had a sold out audience in the middle of an afternoon, over 100 people. Yeah, it was a R&D. We'd not been given any money, but we'd been given space by the Royal Exchange. That's right. And they didn't take it on.
Yeah, that was intense. It was powerful. What was that story about?
It was about a young black man and basically him having an accident when he was young and then making a bad decision, going to prison, then coming back out and kind of being a little bit institutionalized, but has lots going for him. Similar story to like a lot of black children or young black men and women sometimes in inner city areas where they have so much potential, but like because they're not given the opportunities, the potential is just devoured. It ends up, it just ends up going nowhere. Yeah. So that was what that story was about, and then kind of shows his life. And as a vehicle for me as a performer, like I kind of tapped into all my creative powers, like so like I would do a bit of dancing in it. I would do a bit of like chatting, kind of reggae, kind of chanting, which I'd grown up around through my Rasta heritage. Then also I'd worked with a guy called Will Powers from America.
I know Will.
Who had played multiple characters. So within that piece, I changed characters. I played about maybe 8 or 9 different characters. So 8 or 9 different voices, different ways of doing things, attitudes, intensity. So that was like, for me as an actor, it was a great learning.
It was, and I think when I came to see it, because again, I'm a sort of person who, I love theatre, I love art, I love the arts full stop, and what I really enjoy is watching people grow with a piece. I like seeing the first stage of a piece, like going to an R&D, going to the next stage and this next stage and next stage, and with the Prison Games, I watched it right from the beginning, and I just felt that I could see the growth within you as an actor, and you could see the growth within the piece as well, in terms of how it just moved from scene to scene. I loved the way again you executed the different characters when you're jumping out of one, and I think the last time I saw it again was when you did that at the Z Arts at Stun.
Okay, then.
In Z Arts, and it was just lovely. You just had grown magnificently, from seeing you in different perspectives to then seeing you in Prison Games. It was a very, it was wide, the growth was high, which was really, really, really beautiful. But
and when I actually got a chance to perform it, when I did get some funding for it, and this is when I said fear, because I mentioned fear earlier on, when I don't think really I felt fear before that show, like going to perform. Like that show challenged me in ways that, and there was so much. There was an hour show where I was saying all the words myself, flipping between characters. Whereas Prison Game, Different Perspectives was a different type of a show. I had the multimedia to give me rest, so it gave me rest.
Absolutely,
I had breaks, so I only had to remember bits in. It was like staggered. Whereas this was full on. You're driving the show. There's no rest. There's no nothing. You're just go. And I remember I was working with Michael Buffon in London, so he was one of the final people who came on board to help me work with some of the characterization at Tallowa Theatre, and we performed it there at a showcase. And I remember the feeling like, well, it was like war. It's like going to war. I swear, it's just like going to war, because it's like, this is it. And maybe because of everything that had happened before to lead to that moment, and then now it's like the moment was here. you know, we're probably only performing it in front of like 50 people or something. But the journey,
either way, the journey and what took
had been
place,
so intense.
it was an intense show, and it had a lot of dynamics to it, and there was a lot of characters. So in terms of an actor, what would your daily routine be then when you start rehearsing for an actual performance?
Okay. First off, just to flip back a little, when I was doing that, I collected the story from my cousin, so it was my cousin's story. So within that, I remember I just had my daughter, and I'd go with my daughter in her carrier, and we'd go and we'd get dictaphone, and we'd just record. Then after I'd record it all, then I'd come back after and I'd write, and I'd start to formulate the script. Some words from the script, the actual script, are words that he said. Because it was so powerful. It's like, how could you not use that? Because it's his story.
That's true.
Carl, Bullet, so it's his story. So within that now, that was the first thing. So I'm playing a family member's story. So straight away, I've got to give this thing justice.
Absolutely,
So
and passion.
And passion. So
and truth as well, because it's a true story as well, you know.
And
so
it's family as well.
And it's family, so you're gonna connect to it in so many different ways, emotionally, obviously physically. You're a member of your family, you know, and you care, you know. And obviously, when you talked about being institutionalized, it's almost like that fierceness within you is going to creep up as well, you know, and even anger as well. But to be able to carry the story and tell the story in the character without getting you know, that emotional, because it could take you to a real emotional place where you could snap as well, because you think, if you care about somebody, do you know what I mean, and what happened to me, especially going to prison and stuff like that, it's like,
you know what gets me is the thing of that. It's like you're talking about your auntie's child, so I'm talking a bit. It kind of gets reflective of like my auntie in a way, auntie and his dad, because it becomes parental. You know, there's some decisions in there that parentally you think, oh, how's that allowed to happen, or how's that? But then you're writing this, and this is your family. So then within that, you kind of like, you have to, there's something about the truth of it, you know, you want it to be received right, and it has to be right, and it can't be glamorized or anything. It has to be like what is, because this is your family. Like, if they don't like it, maybe they don't invite me back to their house again. Like, literally, you know, you don't know. I'm sure, you know what I mean, because you're portraying their lives on stage.
Right. So there's some strings attached to that.
The strings, like deep strings, which you're responsible for as a writer. Like, you know, more than the acting, it's my family. Do you know what I'm saying? So within that was a great thing. So I just wanted to do it justice. I prepared, you know, I would work out, you know, I'd stretch, you know, I would do dance routines, whatever I'd have to do with the choreographer, Jamie Luke from Shock Out Academy. You know, we worked with really great people, you know, and I was able to bring these people on board, and we fashioned the show.
Considering you didn't get the funding and you had to go back 7 times, and for me, the amount of places that you have performed it, and you're still performing it today, you know, you've been invited back to places to actually perform it. I mean, many people said it was a great show anyway, but, you know, the fact that you've performed it in so many places, you know, you can just look at that to go, well, you know, you were wrong, but...
Not even that, you know, it's just your instincts, just trust your instincts, because people are going to say things either way, do you know what I mean?
That's right, but you knew you had to deliver, and you wanted to deliver, whether you gave me the funding or not, and because you believe in yourself.
And understanding the story as well, I understood that this is a story
it's society,
that needs to be
it's
told.
a real story about society. It's what goes in society today. This is a reality show. It's not a fiction show. It connects with real people, real families, what happened to him, being locked up, losing freedom to be able to walk out on the street on a daily basis. You know, it's magnificent. Do you know what I mean? It's a you know, it's a truth
true story at the end of the day, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But so what did your day look like? So
let me just say, can I just add a little something
yeah.
to that? Sorry. So
of course.
so with that now, like
Yeah.
we ended up performing it in prisons, youth offending institutes.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? I did workshops in prisons with young offenders and stuff. In big man prison with men going through, you know, different situations and stuff like that. It was so impacting. We were just recently, before lockdown, I was supposed to take it to Edinburgh. We've been given a bursary from home and the Edinburgh Festival to go take it to Edinburgh. So the show is like,
it's still
it's going from strength to strength. The show it's not over. It will do international touring, and it will go around the world.
Yeah, and I believe so, because it is a very, very strong, powerful show that can connect communities, and especially with the young males and the press that young males have been given, and even the fact that it can also show young males that your life, there can be a part 2 to that. What was life like afterwards and when you came out of prison? But at the same time, it's sort of showing and even encouraging, you know, this is what happened, and, you know, just letting young people know the truth, so not to go into certain or make certain decisions, in other words.
It makes you aware.
You know, make you be aware of what is going on in the world, you know, and I believe that it's a show that, yes, it's almost like a debut show, even though it's not your first show, but it's still a show that I think is going to be a very long-lasting. So going back to the question then, what would a day look like? A day in the life of Marcus Hercules, waking up in the morning and preparing for a performance or preparing for going into rehearsal. What does that look like for an actor? What would you do? You know, the basic things from waking up. What would your routine be?
Interesting. So I had 2 children at that time. So generally, like it would consist of getting up, taking them to school, maybe loading the car, equipment, maybe laptop, speakers, get to rehearsal, unload, set up, start, maybe eat a little bit more food, have a little drink, whatever. Then start doing bits of exercise, warm up, do a bit of vocal exercise. Then maybe go through certain areas of the script, conversate with my director, choreographer, depending on who's in that day. Maybe also as well handling calls from the office where, you know, things are coming in about the show. People might want to know different questions, technical questions. There might be other questions about other projects. We might be going for funding for other projects. So kind of just handling lots of different things, but always staying focused on what needs to be done.
Wow, so that's a real busy day, because by then you're running Hercules Productions and you're then performing yourself as a professional. You're actually on tour as well and rehearsing. You know, so
and you know, by as well, because I got so many no's in some of the stuff, it created other avenues for other work. So it meant that then I found funders who would give me money, but for other stuff. Do you know what I mean? So, because obviously you've got to survive, haven't you?
Absolutely,
so
that's the game.
Yeah, so then I would start doing other projects. So then I'd probably have about 2 or 3 other projects that I'd be running alongside now doing my solo shows, which then I'd have to still, obviously I had a commitment to that, so I'd still have to manage them and make sure they were going smoothly, and then still doing the day job as the actor.
Wow. So with the company, with Hercules Company, you've got all of this going on, but with the company, you employed or you know, lots of different freelance people to come in and work with the company. What was that like? What has that been like for you?
It's been good. It's been interesting. It's been great. I think you know, I've worked with some really good people. I've been very fortunate. I think most of the people I've worked with, you know, they've been fantastic. Obviously, I think every now and again there's a few people who, you know what I mean, you know, it is what it is, isn't it? But generally, I've had really, really good people who I've worked with. So it's been fantastic. I've really enjoyed that. And you know what I find as well, because they believe in what we do, they give more than what's required.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean? Even yourself as a board member for the company, you know what I mean? You go above and beyond. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Which is fantastic. And I feel like I kind of, in a way, I need that, because that's like, in a way, I feel like that's just what's required. And I think I do as well, or I try like to think I do, you know, that I try and do, you know, more than what I need to.
But I think for me, I think watching you grow over the years, I think it's about the passion that you give off. You know, you're very passionate. It's almost like Speedy Gonzales, as they say. You know, or you get in a jag and it's like it goes from 10 to 100 in a matter of seconds. You know, and you've got an electric personality. You tend to light up, you know, when you talking, and you're very passionate about when you believe in something, especially you're very passionate about it. So from that, I think you will draw those type of people who will then also be believing you and believe, because you already believe in yourself and believe in what you want to do. Those kind of people have been drawn into your life in regards to that. Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
So another thing of yours, then, I understand that you do music. So one of your other many talents. So I know throughout you've been writing and creating and producing music, and you have brought out a few little tracks. So just tell me a little bit about that journey. How did that come about, and you know, where are you now with that?
Yeah, the music started before the acting, in fairness.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because like I said, when I was 10 and I did stage shows, we'd always do a little bit of, you know, chatting, and we'd always write a little bit of a song, and, you know, have something to, you know, whether something to sing, or, you know, and to do with the band, or to do over a PA. So that was always there. And what happened, even in different perspectives, which was my first solo show, we wrote like maybe 2 or 3 songs. So all of the songs involved in it were original sound scores. So some of them, I went to a studio, worked with Jason Singh. We created soundtracks, and myself recorded, Tasana Osborne, she recorded, and we put that together, and that was the backing of the show. So in every show I've done, I always have that element. I think there's always an element, so it's always been something that's there. But then what I've done more recently is I felt like I needed to, like, I just have something to say, so I need to say it.
I hear that, yes. So, why not? Why not, so indeed.
So then that's how the music started coming about, and started writing creatively. And I want to kind of do a lot more as well going forward with the music. And I think some of it is, in a way, it's like things that I can control without having to ask people to say yes to. Like, in a way, it's like, it's more creative freedom. Like, than having someone to oh yeah, you can do this. You know, like, I'm a bit bored of that now, if I'm honest, you know. Like, I appreciate it, you know, going to funding and funders, you know, funding projects that we do. But as an artist, it's frustrating, because you want to create.
You feel like you stop and starting, and the fact that you have to apply for the funding yourself, you feel like it takes away from you actually going into the studio to even practice and develop your craft and develop your skills.
And I feel like this is what I do, so let me do what I do, in a sense, you know what I mean? Wherein then they try and, it's like the funder, maybe this is what they're meant to do as well, but it's like then they try to second guess it. You know, I don't think that's right, I don't think this is right, I don't think that's right. But it's like, it's right. I know it's right. Because you know what I mean?
Don't know me, I know me.
Yeah, I know me. Yeah,
you know so it's very difficult. I suppose the funders must be in very difficult positions, having to choose between lots of many companies and lots of different artists coming in for funding. But
sometimes
it's very
they get
difficult.
lost as well, because they're a new person in a new job. You've been doing this for 10 years, and they're a new person, and they'll be telling me about somebody who their first professional performance was in one of my shows, and they'll be telling me at meetings that I need to look at what they're doing, and I'm like, but weren't they a part of my original first show?
Yeah.
And now they're doing their thing, which is great, and I'm not saying, but
Yeah.
now does that mean now that my thing is no longer good again?
No valid.
It's not valid.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
It's still valid, yeah?
Yeah.
And it still has its place, so,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I hear
And
that.
I understand it, like, you know, I suppose if the shows weren't successful, then I could understand. But
they were
sold
out
afterwards,
and
the
got a lot of following.
The proof is always there.
Yeah, proof in the pudding.
Yeah, I toured a prison game. I toured it to all kind of places.
No,
you know,
I remember.
Yeah, like even places where you wouldn't even think you could get an audience for it. Like even like in the countryside and stuff like that. Rural touring. You know, they didn't think they'd take the show. They kind of brought me there as an off chance. I probably got about 3 or 4 bookings. We never actually did the bookings in the end because of other things, but there were audiences there for it. And even the other day, somebody contacted me from Rural Touring again and saying, "Oh, you know, the show, you know,
yeah,
because
maybe you should take it back on the road."
But it's the subject matter sometimes, and maybe it's the titles, maybe it's the name, Prison Game. Okay, ooh. I don't know if it scares people. I don't know what it is. Yeah. I can't really get concerned about that though. I think I just got to keep continuing.
But it's a powerful name.
Yeah.
And it's intriguing as well because you think prison game. What's he on about?
Yeah.
I would want to know prison game because at first I thought when he said prison game, I was like, oh, what's all this about? What do you mean games in prison?
Yeah.
You know, so people will. It's a title that you can. It opens a lot of questions to the title. So, it opens a lot of questions. So tell me, what was the first track then that you brought out? I think, was it on YouTube or?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Worldwide Come Together.
Worldwide Come Together. And what's that about? And how did you come about writing that? What was the motivation behind that? And what inspired you to write that track? And what is the track about?
It's the ideology in it that as people we can't get along. We can't all just come live together. You know what I mean? Like, and somebody wants to be higher or be in this position more than somebody else, or be in control. Yeah, so it's like, it's not that deep really. It's just about us all getting along. So let's do that. You know what I mean? And it's kind of based on, you know, like without the love you got the war. Who really wants the battle to the battle of the death? Valley of the dry bones. Live and not die, hands high. You know, reach for skies, limits we got none, peaks we walk on. Striving for the utmost. You know, let's live it. Do you know what I mean? It kind of, it's just like let's just be one, rather than try to divide and rule.
To disagree.
Yeah, divide and rule. Yeah. It's basically, I think it's divide and rule. I think power. You know, power is it's like a disease almost, isn't it? I think because the more some people get,
it's not productive, is it?
The more people want. It's all about responsibility. With great power comes responsibility, so you have to know how to deal with that. And some of us, you know, we're all learning.
So how many tracks do you have out at the moment? Because you brought out a few more since that first track, haven't you?
Yeah, so I think there's only one really that's out there properly at the minute, which is the one I've just done recently, which is The Future's in Your Hands. But I've got a few others that are on YouTube, but I'm going to re-release them soon. I did like a little label thing called Solar Eclipse, but it's all under my name now, Marcus Hercules. Type it in on YouTube, like you can find it. And basically I'm gonna be re-releasing the other songs as well, and doing some new videos for some of the tracks. Just because I feel like I'm in a different place, and I'm I have a better understanding of the music business as well. Yeah. So in order to kind of just reach the people and make sure they hear, you know, what I have to say, if they want to hear it.
Okay. So so this recent release that you've done, what's that called?
So Future's in Your Hands.
Future's in Your Hands. And where can people find that?
Yeah, so that's available on all like major platforms. I think it's Spotify, iTunes and everything. Yeah, it's available.
So people can download that, people can purchase it.
Yeah, purchase it, listen to it on YouTube.
So wow, Marcus, you know, I think that it's just been an inspiration today being able to be here, sit down and just have a conversation about your life journey. And, you know, it's inspiring, and I admire the fact that you've just kept going and going, you know, a man of many talents and skills even, and being able to just pursue the things that you want. I think that is just inspiring for many. And, you know, the fact that you, as a professional, you've also worked in the community, and you've given back as well to young people, and not just young people, you've also given to older people as well, because I remember a few years back you did a project with older people and various other artists as well from different sounds, and I remember you having a agency as well for young people. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So when I first set up the company, we kind of, as another stream, we kind of decided that we were going to do the agency side, and we were going to work with the young people and also adults as well, and send them for work. So some of the young people, you know, they were able to gain work. So about 5 or 6 of them did idents for ITV, which was a great experience for them, you know, and fantastic when they were able to see themselves on television. And one of the young lads used to always, that was like his ambition, his dream, was to be on TV. So it's like almost his dream, you know, came a reality. And they only chose like maybe 3 of them, I think, and his was one of the ones that they chose. And then there was another girl who used to come to the class called Chanel Thompson, and she was in 3 seasons of Class Dismissed, and we got the audition for her, and we were able to send her for it. She got the part, and yeah, she did 3 consecutive years, and she's still acting now. I think she did Coronation Street as well. A year or so ago. So they're still active and doing their thing. So yeah, it's a great platform, and I don't do the agency no more. So it feels like it was meant to be. That they were meant to, that generation, they were meant to get that, you know, that side of it. And also my son Jazeel, he was in Hamlet at the Royal Exchange with Maxine Peake. You know, did a whole run for about 3 months or something like that. You know, packed out audience every night. He was probably about 8 at the time. You know, he was the only one of the young ones as well who actually spoke. So it kind of, you know, it's very satisfying that, you know, when you see them go on and do great stuff.
That's it. So you have a son that is walking in his father's footsteps.
He's walking in his own footsteps. But
still amazing. But it's still amazing. I mean, it's still phenomenal, you know, what you've done, what you've achieved, and what you've also given back, you know, especially to the community. And, you know, I do take my hat off to you, you know, and I just say thank you, really, you know, because as a parent, I know, and as a, you know, artist myself, I know what the, you know, the highs and lows of it, and I know the struggles. However, you've kept going, and, you know, for me, that is inspiration. And I just hope that you will continue, you know, to keep traveling and keep on your journey, you know. So just before we finish though, what are you working on now, and where are you now, and what are you working on? Is it anything for us to look forward to, and you know?
So, well, I've been working on some music projects. So I released the single middle of last year, Futures in Your Hands, and then there's a few other songs that I've got in the pipeline, and they're all going to be part of a show that I've been working on called Rolling Back the Years, which is going to kind of just look at different periods in time in my life, and then kind of have like scripted narrative as well that goes alongside it. And the idea is to kind of have this kind of musical explosion that kind of happens, and then maybe breaks out into some storytelling, but then kind of the sounds and the beats kind of bring you back into the music, and just kind of really going on like a rhythmical journey with it. So that's kind of what I'm working on at the minute.
Fantastic. So this last track that you said, it's called The
Futures in Your Hands.
The Futures in Your Hands. So what inspired you to write The Futures in Your Hands, and what is about when you say The Futures in Your Hands?
You know, it's weird sometimes when I listen back to my songs. I actually feel like I'm talking to myself. It's really weird, like not intentionally, but I suppose that's the thought process of what's on my mind. And it's kind of like the future's in our hands. So like regardless of whatever happens, or whoever says no or whoever says yes, the future's still in our hands.
That's right.
The power is not with somebody else.
That's right.
So it's for us to kind of hold on to that and then manifest whatever it is that we want to manifest, because it's possible. We just have to find a way, and sometimes it might not be the way that we think, you know, but it's possible. and that's the thing. I think that's the thing of the journey has taught me as well along the way, that sometimes things don't go the way you would like them to, but it's not always necessarily a negative thing either.
That's right.
Because it can actually make you better.
Absolutely.
And then if it's making you better and you're growing, and it means that you have to sharpen your sword a little bit more, because for whatever the reason is, it's like you're still becoming sharper. So as you become sharper, you're able to do more when the opportunity does arise for whatever it is that you need to do for that moment, and then for future moments as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that as well. I think that, we go through so many different experiences, and I think it's important to see it as an experience. And you can either let that experience teach you something, or you learn it for that moment and then you throw it away. So whether it's good or bad, or whether it works or it doesn't work, it's still an experience, and it's taken from that experience, I think, and keep that journey going, just keep going on that journey. So the future in our hands, I'll have to look out for that one myself, and remember the future is in my hands. And to me that's positive. That's a positive message, telling people that the future is in our hands. It's not about others, it's about looking inwards and taking your life. You've got to take your life into your hands, and no matter if you fall, it's just about getting up again and just continuing that journey.
Yeah, most definitely.
So Marcus, it's just been a wonderful, wonderful experience today, just being sat here, just hearing, about your journey again. You have really inspired me today. I just feel so blessed.
And it's been nice for me to share the journey as well.
That's
because
good.
Obviously there's so many, it's been a long journey in a way, so there's so many moments that you kind of forget about, and even also like feelings, how you feel about certain things, and it kind of brought back certain feelings, and also reaffirmed certain things for myself as well.
Good.
Because along the way you can kind of you can get lost sometimes, and not like lost like in a bad way, but just like even with Space Dread then, for instance, like I had to leave that, but like through having this conversation, the way I felt about it during the conversation makes me feel that, well, okay, even though I went off course because I had to go a different route, but I need to get back onto that course as well, because I really believe in that show.
Absolutely, and that's nothing wrong with that as well, because I've done a few shows where I think, you know what, let me just put that on the shelf for a minute, because if I want to do that as a big or worldly show, or say take it on tour or take it around the world, I had to then stop and develop, well, who is Imani? So there was a point where I asked that question, who is Imani? And as you know, I created a show called Speechless, which is a story about my life. So in other words, getting myself on the map. So even though I was known, but I was known through the young people and delivering workshops, it wasn't really known through Imani and who she is. So everyone was really surprised when I put on my tap shoes and think, I didn't know you tapped. The kids were like, I didn't know you tapped. And it's like, and everyone could see that when I put them on, I just lit up. And but I never showed it to anybody, or I wasn't practicing, so so I know what you mean. It's just a matter of you got to keep going no matter what. And
it's the purpose, I think, as well.
What is your purpose? And what is it, and how do you want to share what you know and your creative ideas with the world, for me. So so once again, I want to thank you so much for giving me this honour of, talking about your work and talking about your life. And, I do wish you all the best.
Oh, thank you.
And, I will be looking out for you on YouTube. I'll be looking out for you in the, on iTunes and all the things that you're doing. And I just hope that you will just, continue moving and continue going. So everybody, I thank you for listening, and I hope you really enjoyed listening to Marcus Hercules. If you enjoyed what you heard, please do remember to like, do remember to share, do remember to subscribe as well if you're first time to the channel. And don't forget to press that notification bell, so every time I upload a video, you'll be the first to know. So this is Imani Live. Thank you for watching.